Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Emilio in Tennessee. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Green Bay Packers this evening. Talk specifically about the Senior Bowl. We're talking Shrine Bowl. We're talking a little Packers on the side as well, as we've got a couple of comments here in the Patreon group. And if we have time, we're going to do a mock draft. And we're going to do a mock draft where we can actually trade around a little bit and specifically try to trade back in the first round. So if we get time, we will hit that as a little exercise. Gents, how we doing this evening?
I'm doing great. It was, again, almost like summer weather in Wisconsin.
I will second everything Jacob just said. It was 64 and I was sweating, and it was a good day.
Heck yeah. And you notice the days are getting longer every day. I love it.
Dude, I felt like I was able to work till 6:30, 7 o'clock tonight. We were getting it done.
Exactly. I just noticed Emilio's name up there, Jacob. You take a peek at that. There you go. Okay. All right, let's get into it. Let's jump into the Patreon group real quick. We got a lot to cover if we're going to get everything done. So that means I got to stay on topic, which probably won't happen. Shout out to Ron Samble in our Patreon group. He had a comment here. He said, I know it's common for teammates to talk positive about each other in interviews, but X went way above and beyond that when asked about Quay Walker, saying, write it down, he will be the best in the league. Is there that much more that we don't see on tape that X feels that way? I think you hit the nail on the head, Ron. Teammates are always going to try to build their teammates up. The thing about Quay, though, he did show some improvement this year, right? I think we would all agree on that. Was it to the level where you think, okay, he deserves top 5 linebacker money? Absolutely not. I'm sure, Ron, you probably agree with that. And, I think this is more of X just being a good teammate. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Quay comes out this year, everything clicks, and he's ready to go. I think something that's really going to push Quay Walker along is obviously the arrival of Edgerrin Cooper, But what do you guys think about that right there?
Yeah, I think I'll take it because I've been kind of supporting Quay there when people were dogging on him. I think that, he really does get it. He's had the doubt on him for a few years now. Just kind of ripping that centerpiece away seems just tough. And like how we said, even if we brought him back as a baseline and moved on from there. But yeah, I do think that Quay can be great, but I do see where you're saying, you're going to say that about your buddy and all that. So I totally hear both sides.
Yeah. I want to believe it. I want to believe that it's not just like quote unquote coach speak or anything like that. But like J. Cole says, I'd be shocked if a teammate came out and said, yeah, that guy sucks.
Right.
Which would make I'm glad he didn't do that. But, at the same time, we did see Quay's played his best ball towards the end of the year there. And who knows, maybe it's a guy, if an Xavier ends up taking over a Green Dot or Edgerrin and just allows him to play a little more just within his natural ability, if maybe he doesn't have to worry about being the main guy on that defense, if X takes that over, if Edge takes that over, and they decide that, hey, he's just another puzzle piece, we let him just use his natural athletic ability, maybe he does find a great niche.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. And also shout out to Greg S. shared a link that says connect.zebra.com, and it says / Senior Bowl insights, and it says here is all the data getting collected on the Senior Bowl players' play speed and some other interesting metrics. I don't want to put it on the screen in case someone, would get upset that we clicked on the website, something I haven't seen yet. I appreciate that, Greg. We'll make sure we check that out. If it's got like their clock speed, the fastest players on the practice field, right, that's definitely something we're checking into. So, like I said, Greg, thank you so much for sharing that, buddy. All right, let's get into some other news here. Let's go rapid fire. We're going to have to go quick on this because there's a lot. This is Easton Butler on Twitter. Everybody go give him a follow at Easton__Butler. Gave us a flurry of players that met with the Packers once again this week, whether it's the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl. Packers met with UCF cornerback B.J. Adams. All right. BJ Adams. If you guys got anything you want to add to these players as I go through, I'm just going to list them off. Just cut me off and tell me if you like them, hate them. Don't say you hate them or not. Just say if you like them. Okay, let's go that way.
278 on our board with a 207 score. He has the cheese emblem now. We'll see what he does.
Let's go. Yeah, so let's if you don't care, Amelia, let's do that on each of these. We can do it real quick. All right. Just look them up. And if they're not on there, some of them I added. Here's Oklahoma State linebacker Nick Martin that the Packers met with at the Senior Bowl, according to Easton Butler. On Nick Martin. He's on there.
Martin was 364 for us with an average score of 303.
Got it. All right. So lower prospect, obviously. Packers also met with Miami offensive lineman Jalen Rivers, JALENRIVERS, at the Senior Bowl. Jalen Rivers.
204 on our board with an average of 154.8. And they were talking about him on that PFF podcast that they were, surprised by how well he played. I think that they moved him inside, tackle the guard. They were possibly thinking top 10 guard, or interior sort of player.
Got it. Love it. All right. Next, Northern Illinois safety Nate Valcarcel, however you say it, VALCARCEL.
He is in the bunch with everybody else that doesn't have a score but has met with the Packers.
Got it. Good deal. Defensive back Ridge Texada met with the Cardinals at the College Gridiron. That ain't nobody for us. I apologize for that. So he's breaking news for other teams too, man. I'll tell you, Easton Butler on it, dude. Packers met with Northern Illinois D-back Javon Bird. Again, it's JAVAUGHN.
Same. We got a few in that pile. We got to get grades on.
Got it. What he's talking about is, as the Packers are visiting with some of these players, they don't even have a grade on our board because they're so far down the board. Some of them being the 400s, 500s, 600s, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is listing them, and we're going to go back and get a grade for them if at all possible. For sure. So,
right.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Jake got the wrong link, didn't he? Let me take care of that real quick. Yeah. Can one of you boys? I'll do it right now. Hold on just a second. I apologize, guys.
So Ja Joyner, we're looking at right now. Correct. He's the next one on. Minnesota Edge. We have him at 247 and his average grade of a 182. So he's kind of hanging around Mac Williams, who we've also met with, and Nazir Stackhouse, who we've met with.
Got it. You should have it now, Jake. Next prospect. Packers met with Utah State wide receiver Jalen Royals. Boys, I'm telling you, this is a dude that I kind of feel like he's one of about 3 or 4 wide receivers I think the Packers really have on their radar. So I'm excited to see who goes after him, where he ends up. We got Jake Shavink joining us now, the draft robot. What's up, Jake? How you doing, man?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
What's up, Shavink? You been doing okay?
Yes. Brought the sunscreen this year, so we're in the clear. Okay,
Nice.
No issues there, at least.
Awesome.
So that's great news. But excited to join you. It's been listen to you guys dive into draft so early already. It's been a lot of fun. So excited to be here and join.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. We're going to go rapid fire through these updates on who the Packers have been interested in, and we'll get your takeaways because you're at the Senior Bowl, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal.
And Jalen Royals, we had him at a 73, 69 overall average grade, and met with the cheese.
There you go. All right, got it. Next, you got Miami. This is going to piss people off. Miami kicker Andy Borregales, I think is how you say the name, met with a total of 28 teams at the Shrine Bowl, including the Packers. So it's not like this was an exclusive interview or anything.
Right.
Obviously,
he's in the pile.
Yeah. And again, everybody is on the Brandon McManus train there. I feel comfortable saying that. If they go another rookie route, I think heads are going to roll. I'm just saying, boy, it got pretty nasty there a couple of years ago. LSU running back Josh Williams met with the following teams at the Shrine Bowl: Eagles, Broncos, Steelers, Lions, Patriots, Jaguars, and the Packers. So LSU running back Josh Williams there, Emilio. Do we have him on the board? I think I at least added him.
Josh Williams is in the pile as well.
All right, cool. Got to get a grade for him. News that Easton Butler talked about. The Steelers are expected to cut edge Preston Smith. So Goody cooked once again, right?
Yeah.
got a pick for someone who isn't even getting re-signed. We'll talk there with Nick Martin. Here we go. Colorado School of Mines long snapper Josh. Jake, how do you say his name right there?
Oh, see that one. I'm not sure. That's there's a lot.
I swear
going
I
on
want to
there.
say Oaxacawitz. That's what it feels like. Oaxacawitz.
That could work. That could work.
I like it.
Nobody knows who he is anyway. We could just say
He needs
that.
to go on the
That's,
board.
I mean, that's a really good way of pronouncing it. I kind of like it.
I think
you
that
know?
sounds right. Either
Pretty
that
clean.
or Wakisevich. No, that would work.
Keith,
It's
that
just
sounds
weird.
great.
That could work too. Actually,
All right, that's it. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Appreciate it. All right. Easton Butler said the Packers met with Iowa State wide receiver Jaden Higgins.
and Tim's not here.
I was gonna
Oh,
say, I'll
man.
be Tim. Yeah, that's right.
That's
We're
where
gonna
Tim-
win.
Oh,
That's where Tim's at. He hacked Easton Butler's account tonight. That's where he's at right now. So, well, Emilio, where's Jaden Higgins at on our board?
our boy Jaden Higgins is sitting at 37th currently with a 41.8 average.
Jake, how do you feel about where we got him at, man? Do you got him much higher, much lower? Where do you got Jaden Higgins sitting? Just and you don't have to give your exact location, but kind of where do you see him going in the draft, man?
Yeah, I feel like second round is a pretty good estimation right now. Yeah, it's harder. He's a bigger guy, right? You know, you play a little physical with these things, so he's been doing a nice job with that. I think, yeah, when it comes to big body, catches everything, does enough to get open. That feels kind of like your day two guy. He feels a lot like Michael Pittman Jr. from a few years ago. It's that kind of profile, like the big body, but enough twitch where you can get open. So
Got
there's many reasons to like him. So, and I see why Tim's on board for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. 2-0 for this says Mike Wazowski. That was the name.
There you go.
Some of you guys got that. Packers met with Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel, Emilio. That's JAYLINNOEL at the Senior Bowl. That was per Gary Wolf.
131 with a 106.3.
Got it. 131 with the 106.3. Got it. Appreciate it. Next, you've got UCF cornerback Mac McWilliams. He met with the Packers and the Bengals at the Senior Bowl. Where's Mac McWilliams at? And then
Mac, he was around somebody else here.
I'm trying to remember. I was thinking he was a little lower, but the
He
Packers
was down by Nazir Stackhouse. We had him at 242.
242. What do you think about him, Jake? And does he have some versatility? Am I thinking right? Can he play in the slot, or is he making?
Yeah, I think he can do both. He was getting a lot of punt return stuff in as well today, looking pretty smooth with that. So, yeah, I think teams are going to give him a lot of special teams looks as well as playing potentially either inside or out at corner. I think he did get a decent bit of slot reps when they were doing full team. So
Got it. Good stuff. Good stuff. And now that Keyshawn Nixon's going to be cornerback one and not returning kicks, this makes all the sense in the world.
there you go. Yeah.
Kansas State, somebody just unsubbed to the channel. Kansas State cornerback Jacob Parrish met with 13 teams, including the Packers. That's cornerback Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Emilio,
183 with an average of 142.
Got it. Good stuff.
He's right next to Kobe Bryant. Actually, we had Kobe Bryant at 180.
Kobe. Easton Butler also tweeted out the Packers met with Florida State kicker Ryan Fitzgerald. So he's definitely combing through the ranks there looking for a potential kicker, man. That's going to be interesting. The Packers also met with – go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry.
He is right next to B.J. Adams at 352, 285 average.
Yeah, and it seems like there's one kicker that's most likely going to get drafted. I think he was in the top 100 of the consensus big board. Does that sound right to you, Jacob? Anybody? Wasn't there a kicker? Or am I thinking wrong? That was like somewhere in the upper 90s, lower 100, right around the 100 mark on the consensus big board. Any idea? No.
Well, the highest one for PFF is Ryan Fitzgerald.
Is it?
Out
Okay.
of FSU. Yeah.
All right, let me go to consensus big board real quick and see.
I think I know what you're talking about, though, Clay.
Hey, it's actually Andres Borregales from Miami at 101 at the consensus big board. So, and this is as high as he's ever been. High on the board, not high, but he's peaked at 101. All right, that's where he's sitting right now. So, yeah, everybody driving that stock way up on him for sure. Jake's wondering why he got on here now. Packers met with Bowling Green tight end Harold Fannin Jr. Obviously, he's fairly high on our board, right? I want to say he's in the top 32 or something like that. So,
Yes.
Harold,
Jake, real quick, what do you think about Harold Fanning? Because explain to me why I can't add him to the Musgrave Kraft trifecta of the best tight ends ever.
I can't explain it because I'll be honest. I've there some people who know. I've been a couple things saying like if Tyler Warren's available, I don't mind it at all. So
Right.
yeah, I'm in that same boat. Like if Loveland, did you see Daniel Jeremiah's board recently? Warren was 5th on it in the top 50, and Loveland was 7th. Like he's clearly in on these tight ends this year, and Fannin was getting work at fullback in some of the team stuff. Like they clearly value like his ability, you know, in terms of the movement skills, just finding ways to get him on the field wherever possible. Like he moves different for sure. And at 230, I mean, he's not going to do what Kraft does, right? He's going to be an F, a slot, even potentially, you know, maybe the H back if you want him to be. So I don't think that's crazy at all. Why not?
You got a little bit of that Bowling Green pop line there too with Carl Brooks, right?
Yeah.
That may be a little link there.
He
But
is 25th on our board.
got it. So he's 25th on our board. The consensus big board has him at 51. He peaked at 48. And above him on the board, you've got Colston Loveland at 20. He peaked at 17. And Tyler Warren stocks is as high as it's ever been, sitting at 15 on the consensus big board. They got him projected to go to the Colts at 14, Loveland to the Broncos at 20. And then obviously there's no projection yet on Harold Fannin Jr.
He's already climbed up 5 spots though, Clay. I put him in at 56.
Nice.
Wow.
So that's, I mean, I like to see that.
The comp that's been going around for Fannin is Isaiah Likely. So
Really?
an interesting one there.
Yeah, that's great. And again, it depends on how people feel about Musgrave, right? Obviously, he's got to stay healthy, but I mean, I got to be real. I was way more excited about the Musgrave draft pick than I was Tucker Kraft, and now I'm to the point where I'm like, man, Musgrave just hasn't clicked yet for me. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but I just haven't seen it, you know. So if you're going to try to press into 12 personnel, maybe that's why we pressed into 11 a little bit more. Once again, is that you just didn't like what you had in Sims and Musgrave. And honestly, I like Sims more than I like Musgrave. And I know I get roasted for that, but I feel like Sims has done what we've asked him to do, especially blocking inline. Got a couple of good reps on tape last year, you know, pancaking people.
Yep.
Just haven't seen that from Musgrave. So obviously it's not what his specialty is. But next you got Miami offensive lineman Jalen Rivers at the Senior Bowl. The Packers met with him. That's JALEN RIVERS out of Miami. Emilio, what do you got on him? 204. Jake, what about you? Anything on Jalen Rivers?
Yeah, a little bit down today, but yesterday was obviously the big win. Brugler doesn't tweet a whole bunch about the Senior Bowl, right? He doesn't get into kind of like oh, look at this clip, like, right? He's kind of more patient with his process. But even he yesterday was like, man, Rivers, he did everything they asked of him: right tackle, right guard, center, left guard, like. And he was at Miami. I was talking to somebody today who's been watching the Canes a ton this year. He goes, yeah, I mean, every drive they were switching him from guard to tackle. Like he was having to like not build a rhythm at all this year. He was having to switch positions every series. So he's gotten reps in the last calendar year pretty much everywhere you could ask of him. And thought the footwork and the hands were really impressive. They were mirrored a lot yesterday. Like it looked really clean from him. So wouldn't be shocked if he gets at least a little bump. Nice. For sure from this one.
And shout out to Eli Berkovitz that put that tweet out. Easton Butler just retweeted it. It's at bookofeli_NFL. Make sure you go give him a follow. You're probably already following him if you're following us, I would imagine. So Easton Butler tweeted out, the Packers met with Louisville cornerback Quincy Riley at the Senior Bowl. Quincy Riley out of Louisville. Emilio, anything on him on our
We have him at 305.
305.
But
right.
We met with him, so now he gets the cheese. Cool.
Got it. Jake, anything on him?
Oh man, he's been awesome. He has been awesome. I was kind of hesitant because obviously, you know, like you guys, I'm like thinking about who are going to be Packers, right? And a lot of the talk with Riley coming into this week was, yeah, he's pretty small. He's probably going to be only a nickel. He's going to be sub 180. Is a lot of the things I heard. And then he weighs in at 192. He's going out there, impressive press technique. He's locking guys up. He really hasn't lost too many reps in the one-on-ones, which are designed for receivers to win. I've been really, really impressed. He's gone up against Higgins and Noel plenty. He is just, there's not much else you can say about his week other than like he is a massive winner. I think he's going day 2. I think it's locked at this point.
Nice.
Green Bay in the 50s. Take another 5'10", 190 plus corner from Louisville.
Yeah.
You never know.
Especially with kind of the cornerback room up in the air. And if you're going to play Keyshawn on the outside next year predominantly, not knowing if Ja's coming back, you're one injury away from, Bullard going down and them having to kick Keyshawn back to the slot, or even a safety going down and putting Bullard back to the slot. Although I think Katano Ladapo will be way, way more prepared next year. Not that he wasn't this year, to obviously fill in at safety and keep Bullard at nickel in that nickel 4-2-5. Quincy Riley is currently in the 132 spot on the consensus big board. Jacob, do you got anything to add to any of these guys we've talked about? You just chime in, man. We're kind of going rapid fire here, but
Nah, I'll jump in if I see him. There's a few guys that we've already kind of passed, but we're good.
The other thing I'd say about Quincy is that when I was listening to that PFF pod, they said that he was just absolutely killing it in man, and that's why kind of last year, looking at his grades, his PFF 24, he was ranked 634, but he was 29th the year before, and I think they said that they switched from a man-based defense to a zone-based, and he just didn't get as much action this past year in Louisville. But he's a dog in those one-on-ones, like Jake was saying.
got it. All right, let's go to the chat real quick. B Time 10 says Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, and Mike Green get ready to go. Green Bay. We got to have that. See, that's where we need Tim in here.
Get ready to go.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, God.
Jake, I need to get your take on this one first.
Duval.
I can't.
I don't know many people that are more Caucasian than that cat right there.
Not many.
Many.
Listen, he went to the awards show. That's all I got to say for that award, right? Like he went there. He was a nominee, no doubt. So.
Man, unbelievable. Coach Lynn says, not sure if you saw him today, but Jackson Slater, interior offensive lineman from Sacramento State. Look at our boy Coach Lynn representing the West Coast there. Could be a late round steal, flashed a bunch today. Talk to us about him, Jake.
Yeah, I think with the small school guys, it's a little bit of an adjustment, right? Day one, you're kind of like, okay, what kind of power do these guys have? How am I going to use what the offensive line coaches are telling me and stuff like that? Like, kind of get more familiar with some of the techniques they want you to use out there. But yeah, he was at the very least, and again, it was, from the stands far away, right? Not the close-up stuff from NFL Network and ESPN that had on, but from what I saw, it was either he was great knee bend, drop an anchor, and kind of losing slowly with those little hops that you often see the linemen do, right? Where he's kind of like giving a little bit of ground, but not too much. I thought he did a great job with that. And as a smaller school guy, right, going up against, right, and he's in the later group. So you get SEC pass rushers all up and down that line, all day. And I thought he held up pretty well, especially in the ones. Like he looked like, there was enough, anchoring ability there to kind of handle anybody who came his way. So
nice. Emilio, do we have him on the board, man? Jackson Slater, interior offensive line, Jaxson, if it's spelled correctly there. Jackson Slater.
No, we just have Jackson Dart on the board.
Yeah, we might want to add him in. Sacramento State, obviously a smaller school, but might want to put him in. We'll try to run down a grade on him. Restrepo is another name that's been mentioned a lot. Restrepo's starting to grow on me, Joe says here. Little undersized, am I thinking right, Jake? Did he measure in at 5? But there was someone that measured in at 5'9" that I remember everybody was excited about.
Yeah,
but
I think both him and Jalen Noel are both 5'9". I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And they're both, I think, hovering around somewhere around 200,
Okay.
mid 190, something like that. So,
So pretty thick for a shorter guy, though, right? I mean, kind of like that. I don't know. I can't remember how tall like Percy Harvin was. I don't even remember how tall Randall Cobb was, but I feel like he was closer to 5'10", something like that. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, Cobb's probably right in that wheelhouse.
range.
Yeah.
All right. Joe says, highlight from day 2 Senior Bowl. I said I was going to run through his face, so I ran through his face. Shamar Stewart. We've seen the clip. I think I've got it on my Twitter handle here too. We're going to go 2 for 2 on Aggie studs is what he says. So obviously, unless there was a transfer involved there, he probably did play with Edgerrin Cooper, right? Down there. Shamar Stewart. Yeah.
I was gonna ask Jake about him. I actually wrote a note. I mean, 6'6", 290. he looked like he did play a few inside A gap snaps, predominantly more like B and then outside tackle. Is he one of those guys that you see the Packers looking at his RAS, look at his size, and say, we can change him, we can put him anywhere, we can develop him into whatever you want to develop him into? Do you see that possibly?
Yeah, as soon as I remember reading someone's mock back in October, kind of as I was just getting the feet wet and kind of like looking at these guys. And he mocked Stewart to Detroit and said essentially the blurb was like, he's 20 years old, doesn't have a lot of production, but the traits are there. And I go, wow, that sounds familiar. Are you sure he's going to the Lions? So yeah, I mean, if he's available, which based on some of the dip and the work he can do around the arc at like, I think he weighed in around 6'5", 280. Which is eerily close to what Gary weighed in at. I think Gary was like 277 at the combine. So, yeah, I mean, with the lack of pass rush this year from Green Bay side of things, like if he's available at 23, I'm not sure it's anyone else at the top of the board than him. So,
yeah. Well, this is Daniel Jeremiah's mock, and he has us taking Stewart at 23.
Yeah.
Kyle Krabs had Shamar Stewart. Where was it? He had him go. Did he have him drop out?
Oh, he's 9.
No. Yeah, he's not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and this was Kyle Krabs over at the 33rd team. Obviously, used to be with the Draft Network. Emilio, tell Jake where we've got Shamar Stewart because it's significantly lower. Isn't it? Am I remembering correctly? We have him. I want to say we have him outside of the top 50.
He was at 51.
Yeah.
But even on that pod, they were saying that he was unblockable, that he had, some of the best reps of the day and that he had that strip sack as well. A guy that performs like that around, big talent. And like they made the point, you don't think about it. Everyone's there with their phone. Nobody wants to get roasted. Nobody wants to get absolutely just drove back into the ground. You know what I mean? Like that's the worst thing that could happen to your stock. And just doing it, repeatedly to kids is, it's good to see.
I've got to ask the question, Jake. Who is 52?
Who's 52?
That gets
that's right? Kansas. I think that's Logan Brown. If I'm correct. Brown.
Okay,
it's definitely Kansas. So there's a Kansas guy at the Shrine Bowl too, and I'm mixing the two up for sure, potentially. So
for every highlight here, there's a guy that rises, but there's one that falls. You know what I mean? It's like that's a tough rep there, but it's just one rep. So
hey, it happened more than once today. We could how the Oregon guy did against Mike Green. It happens. It happens. Just got to pick yourself up off the mat.
When I first started diving into all the data, all the information, Mike Green was one of about 7 that just bang. And I'm like, why is he so low on these boards?
Could have been Logan Brown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. B. Timmy says Logan Brown. And coincidentally, he was a former 5-star Badger. So.
Wow.
Got it. All right, so biggest winners from day one of the Senior Bowl. This is from the 33rd team. Gray Zabel, offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. You got Anthony Belton, offensive lineman out of, I think that's NC State, right? Am I thinking right? Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State. Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. Jack Besh out of TCU. Omar Norman Lott out of the University of Tennessee. And Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Emilio, looked up Anthony Belton for us real quick, offensive lineman. I'd like to know where we got him at because I feel like he's pretty low. I could be wrong. And Jake, obviously you got these names if you want to say something about them or if there's anyone else that just give us your takeaway from the Senior Bowl in terms of here's my favorite guys, just whatever you're taking away, man.
Yeah, I mean, Gray Zabel's certainly near the top of the list. There's no question about it. I know today was a little bit rougher for him in the 1v1s, but some guys shared some stuff from 11s from kind of the end zone view from yesterday, and you just watch him at center, you watch him at guard, just the quicks, he's just eliminating the linebackers when they're doing run game stuff. Like he is completely washing them out, getting the second level. And yeah, when he has to combo at the point of attack, he's done a really nice job. So I think the goal for NFL teams are going to be to play him on the interior. I know he's played some tackle. Hey, you know who likes those versatile offensive linemen, right? We're talking about them. They're on the thumbnail. They're in the corner, right? But he has done everything well that's been asked of him this week, no matter if it's pass protection, if it's run game, right? He has the edge as a physical player. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of what he's done. We talked about Riley a little bit. Like, I think he's been my favorite corner this week. And there was a lot. I was really excited about Porter from Iowa State and Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. Like, he has been the dude, Riley has. And I think conversely on the other team, it's been Maxwell Hairston as well. And he's, you know, a little bit thinner, right? He's I think 179 is what he weighed in at in Mobile. And yet his press technique, the patience that he plays with, he's got enough speed, you know, to run with guys. Like, he has been really, really impressive, even on the boundary at the size. Now, I don't know if NFL teams are going to do that, but he has hung in there for sure.
Got it. Yeah.
No.
With Maxwell Harrison, obviously being a Kentucky fan, had a down year this year. If I remember correctly, he was banged up as well. But, yeah, when they said he weighed in at 179, I was like, oh, boy, this ain't good. And then all of a sudden you're hearing he's flashing. It's like, okay, maybe not, you know. So, Emilio, do you have anything on Anthony Belton there, man?
Yeah, we have him at 163.
163. Got it. And they have him at 97 here. The consensus big board has Anthony Belton at, where are you at, sir? Oh, wow. Is he listed as a tackle, you think? Could he be listed as a tackle, Jake?
He could be, yeah. I mean, he's gotten a lot of work at left tackle this week, almost exclusively.
Let's check
He's
it
been
out.
kind of like not flashing, but like just doing the job. Kind of
Got
like just the lunch pail guy this week of like, yep, footwork, stay in front of guys, use the hands well, like good base. He's just kind of been ho-hum doing the work for the most part, which is, you know, it's not going to be as flashy. It's not going to be as exciting. It's not going to be, man, I got ran over by a guy today or anything like that. Just kind of steady Eddie this week, which has been, again, really impressive for him. So
Got it. Yeah, so they've got Anthony Belton in the 134 spot. Where did you say again, Emilio? We have him
We got him at
134.
163.
Okay. He peaked at 76, so obviously his stock has gone down significantly. They do have him listed as an offensive tackle on the consensus big board for what it's worth. So, all right, there's that. Let me see what else we had up here. We obviously hit the Shamar Stewart bull rush. God love that kid. And then I put this out here because I wanted to kind of test the waters. I honestly expected the majority of the vote to be no, but we now have 569 votes on this poll question. I said, would you be okay with the Packers trading out of the first round of this year's draft? 58.9% on Twitter said yes, and 41.1% said no. So let's go around the horn with that. I know we've kind of talked about it a lot on this show. Jacob, we haven't talked to you as much as Emilio and Tim here lately. What do you think about trading out of that first round? Do you think Goody's going to get crucified if they do it, man?
He'll get crucified no matter what decision he makes. So I don't think that's going to be the basis of the decision. But you guys know me. I'm Mr. Dollar General, Matt Marshalls, TJ Maxx. The more bang I can get for my buck is what I want. If there's a cluster of guys, you know, right around that 23 area, I have no problem trading back. Especially like Jake's talked about. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, because it seems like in drafts prior, there was a lot of high-end blue chippers at most positions. There was just guys that you're like, you got to have them. If they fall to you, you have to pick them. There's just nothing else. And it seems like a lot more of middle-of-the-pack guys in this draft, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know, man. I really like Jack Sawyer. If that's available around that, I'd be very upset if we maybe were to pass on a guy like that. But, you know, I just actually got into JT. Is it Tuimoloau or Tuimoloau? I don't know how do you pronounce it.
Tuimoloau.
Tuimoloau. Okay. And that's a guy where I'm looking at his stats and a lot of his production and his steady eddiness and I'm like, I would love to have that guy too. So if I could trade back out of that 23 spot, maybe I risk losing out at Jack Sawyer, but if I can get a guy like JT or a Shamar or somebody else that maybe would fall and we pick up maybe a third or a fourth, whatever it is that we can, you know, it was weird looking at the Packers draft picks and only seeing 7 picks for each round. It's like, what? That's not how we do it. You know?
Greg Rice says team trade back. Big Tom says team trade up. We did the poll question in YouTube, and I expected this one. Our YouTube viewers, 56 votes here said 71% said yes, they would be okay with trading out of the first round. Only 30% said no. And I kind of expected it to be like that and then flipped completely on Twitter. I was pleasantly surprised that some guys are okay with trading out. Jake, the reason I asked that question, I want to get Emilio's take on it too. Daniel Jeremiah said that he's got a pocket of guys between 20 and 60 that are just kind of bunched together, right? With us picking 23rd, now obviously the draft isn't going to fall perfectly into place, but let's assume those top 20 guys are gone. How would you feel about trading back from 23? In this case, we're gonna put your feet to the fire here a little bit and say out of the first round. But I think we would all agree, hey, just trading back 3, 4, 5 picks if you can to pick up a little extra draft capital because you're probably getting the same caliber player. What do you think about that 20 to 60 breakdown there of Daniel Jeremiah?
Yeah, I think it makes all the sense in the world to move down. I don't think this draft, it looks like, there's talk down here about like, teams have 8, 9, 10 first round grades right now is all. And so, yeah, it kind of makes that like second, third, fourth tier a lot bigger. So yeah, if you don't end up with a Stewart or Mike Green, those guys go early. Teams want the cheap contracts at receiver. They go get McMillan and Burden and Igbuka and Golden early, and you're not interested in that. And you Walter Nolan maybe comes off the board before you pick, right? Like, yeah, I would have no problem even moving out of the first round because, yeah, I agree. Like if you get, like, imagine getting a bevy of picks in the third and fourth round because of your trade downs. Maybe they're moving Ja. I know maybe I shouldn't have said that on here, but like if you're getting a bunch of picks for that, like, I think there's going to be a lot of quality swings you can take. There's versatile old linemen to be had. Like, how about this? What if you trade out of the first, you're picking at like 33, 34 and you take Zabel as your first guy, right? Like maybe that's your first guy you go get, and then you go get, maybe, I don't know, throwing names out there, but like a Quincy Riley, a Mello Dotson, Azarie Thomas, 2 guys of those caliber on day 2, right? You could land one of them. You could go get the TCU kid, maybe Savion Williams, big, tall, fast, versatile deployment, and maybe you go land, a 3-tech, or that's maybe what you do. Maybe it's trade down out of the first and Derek Harmon doesn't go in the first and you're able to take him at the top of the second. Like, I do think it feels, I don't know what you guys think. I would love to hear what everybody thinks about this. It feels like, because somebody recently told me that the Packers higher ups were looking at O-line very intently throughout Shrine Bowl practices. If it's just like trenches early, spray cornerback later, and maybe find a receiver, does that sound, with some trade backs in there, does that kind of feel like a pretty decent approach here?
I've got 3 needs at offensive line is what I'm seeing. I could see them taking 2, maybe 3 players at offensive line. I really could. Mm-hmm. Emilio, what do you think about it, man? Obviously, you've been down in the draft board a lot.
I think that we have to build in the trenches. I think that you look at the teams that are excelling right now, and it's because they keep diving into the trenches. So I think we just got to stick to the plan and just keep chugging, and take those shots early. We got one that didn't get to play a lot this year in Morgan. We'll add to that. We'll have, maybe another backup or 2 O-line, get another D guy. I'm thinking four picks in offensive and defensive line at least out of our 7. That's why I'd like us to get a couple trade backs and go. And you think about it, someone wants that first round 5th-year option. Hey, they're gonna want to jump back in and pull that trigger. So that gives you a little bit. You wait it. They're waiting for somebody that they really like. He's still on the board for them. All right, let's do it. Let's do a deal.
Yeah. What do you think about the scenario where, like we kind of just talked about, almost like Jake referenced, where if they are that interested in the offensive lineman, I don't see a lot of really solid tackles that are going to make it out of that first, maybe second round, if you know what I'm saying. So if you see a guy, one, do you sit, pick him, or do you trade back if you got a couple that you have your eye on, and then maybe second or third, fourth round, you go. I love Alfred Collins. I don't know what you guys think about the interior D lineman from Texas, and they got him around like the 50-ish is what I'm seeing. If you could somehow get your offensive line and then come back around and get a guy like Collins to really shore up that defense, I mean, that's what I would love to do. Like Amelia said, like Jake said, trenches. I mean, the teams that are left right now, the teams that are going to go far in most playoffs is because they have got absolute just studs on both ends of the ball starting in the trenches. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, definitely. So here was a mock draft that I did earlier today just by myself, just kind of running through some exercise. I traded back twice. All right. And I typically don't like to trade a lot in these mock drafts because you can really bend the system, right?
Yeah.
I traded back from 23 to 26 with the Rams, and I picked up the 90th pick as well as a 6th-round pick. And then I traded back again to pick 32, picked up the 64th pick and the 132nd pick, and then also gave them that 90th overall pick in the 3rd round. And here's how the draft went. With the 32nd pick, I took Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, defensive lineman. And then Jake, the reason I thought of this, Jacob, is because you said, maybe go trenches in the 2nd round, right? Ariante Ursary was there. And to me, on our board, he looked solid for that pick. What do you guys think about that? Let me ask you this, Jake. What do you think about Ursary? Because I haven't heard a whole lot about him. Is he even at the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Game?
Yeah, he's here in Mobile. When as long as, and a lot of these guys, it's kind of the same thing because the offensive line development in college isn't the best. A lot of these guys aren't striking very well. They're kind of, bear hugging, holding on, just doing whatever they can. But what I will say about Ursary is, for one, he played against Abdul Carter and hung on, even thrived at some points, was very impressed there. And for one, and another, Ursary is going to help your run game. Promise you that. Yeah. Like even if they're kicking him inside, which it's a weird 1-to-1 comparison, but if you look back at like Daniel Faalele, who was also from Minnesota, who was also really, really big, it was kind of like, oh yeah, maybe he's tackle or maybe just kick him inside. Baltimore's kicked him inside. It certainly helped their run game at the very least. And maybe that's what some teams will be thinking. If not, I think he can stick out there with tackle and continue to get better, right? Green Bay's in a great position. Rasheed Walker's there. Jordan Morgan's also there. So yeah, I think it'd be a fine landing spot, especially because if he kicks in and can kind of give a jolt to the interior offensive line, I'm all for that, right? Help your young guy, help Jacobs, help Lloyd, if hopefully he gets on the field in year 2, right? Create some creases for those guys. I think would be great.
Clayton, too, it kind of fits the Green Bay mold because 2024, he had a decent grade, 77.5 on 691 snaps. But if you go back just a year to 2023, he had an 84 flat grade on 841 snaps. And he only allowed 1 sack in 2024, 2 sacks each in 2023 and 2022. So, guy's pretty steady, man.
Kind of that Jaden Reed approach, right, Emilio?
33rd on our board. Yep. He was 11th in 2023 PFF. So yeah, just a guy that was super good last year, pretty good this year, and just shows up.
Since you mentioned that, I did split screen when I did this this draft right here, and I was using our board and running it through that filter as I was drafting. Let's tell everybody where these guys are on our board, if you don't care. Can we do that rapid fire? I'll read them to you, and you let's talk about where they're at. And I want to get Jake and Jacob's take on whether they agree or disagree with that. Walter Nolan, we got him at pick 32. Where is he at on our board, Emilio?
Walter Nolan is he is pick 16. Sorry,
16. So he's 16 on our board. And I know that's going to be way different than most people's board. Jake, what do you think about Walter Nolan being 16th on our board? Do you think that's way out of touch? And the reason I ask is because if I remember correctly, I want to say Daniel Jeremiah was fairly big on him, or was he not? Yeah, he had him at 17 to the Bengals, right? And then Kyle Krabs, I want to say he had him go, 31st to the Eagles. So we're obviously right in between there at 23. What do you think, man?
Please don't let him go to Philly. That's all I ask.
They do
Please
it
don't.
everywhere, Jake.
They would. Yeah. They would draft him. They would. They'd pull the trigger on that.
100%. I think I agree more with you guys. I think he's going to be in my top 15. Okay. Just based on the high highs of how he can play, the explosiveness, how much power he can generate off of that. Like, yeah, he's a little sloppy in the 1v1s, losing balance a little bit. Sound familiar? Devontae Wyatt, perhaps.
Right.
But like, there's such immense talent there. Like, after Mason Graham, I think he's next in terms of interior defensive lineman. Like,
and he's
at
like
32. Sign me up.
Yeah,
I will be fired up if that's the case.
He's just over 21 years old too, so that's just
Rudy DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, Emilio. We've got him and Mason Graham with the same exact grade with like 6 qualifiers, right?
Right.
Like,
Yep,
that's crazy.
exactly. And they're fighting it out too. They are down to 0.7. I'm sure I could push it out and get a winner for you, but I'd love to see that. And like you said, get them in the end of the first, still have that 5th year option, pick 32 and go with it.
Yeah. Now, Ariante Ursery, I hope I'm saying that first name right, out of Minnesota.
We had him 33rd.
So we got him at 55. We picked him at 55, and he's 33rd on our board. What do you think about both of those numbers there, Jacob and Jake? We'll let Jake go first here, and then we'll get your take, Jacob, on Ariante Ursery.
Yeah, as I said, I think it would be a phenomenal ad simply because pass protection development, and as I think will immediately elevate the floor of the run game for your offensive line, because he is one of those few like you'd look at and go, yeah, he can just move pretty much anybody he wants to once he gets going downhill. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, I like that.
Go ahead, Jacob. Anything you want to add to the Ursery talker?
No, I mean, just he's been predominantly almost exclusively left tackle. He's played a couple snaps at left guard, a few at right tackle over the years. But like Jake was talking about earlier, going up against probably his best opponent in Penn State's DN there, or edge, he had a 71.2. That was his 5th best game of the year, which, that's what you really want to look at when you judge whether or not this guy can hang.
Got it. Emilio, we took with the 64th pick here. I keep putting you on that. Y'all going, don't put my name on that right there. Zy Alexander out of LSU at pick 64. Where do we have Zy Alexander out of LSU cornerback?
We had him at 64.
So right on the dot. There you go. Jake, what do you think about that? Zy Alexander at 64. One thing I'm noticing about the mocks, and again, I know it's all tongue in cheek, but if you don't take a corner in the 2nd round, you find out in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you're kind of in no man's land, in my opinion, on the mock drafts. It just feels like every time I'm going, boy, got to reach for him. I'd have to reach for that one. Feels like they're in the 2nd round is kind of the sweet spot. But what do you think? And I was trying to follow Daniel Jeremiah's advice here and go 20 to 60, right? So we got 3 picks between 32 and 64. But Zy Alexander at 64, what do you think?
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of him to this point, I'll be honest. But from people who have, they talk about him as like about as good of a cover 3 corner as you're going to find in that sort of day 2 range, right? Just good fluid hips, right? To mirror stuff, to close, right? And I think he does a really nice job from a couple of things I've seen of not panicking at the catch point, right? If he's not in good position, he plays receiver and he kind of, does that thing. You stick the arm through the 2 receivers' hands and just kind of break up any pass you can. Like, I think he's very intriguing. I'm really excited to get to study him more.
Gotcha.
But
Two-Tone in the chat says Zy Alexander has been terrible at the Shrine Bowl, so we need to go try to run down some of those comments there. It sounds like he may be struggling, if that's true there from Two-Tone. Appreciate that. Buddy.
Which, again, what are you doing at the Shrine Bowl? Man coverage, right? 1v1s.
Yeah.
And as I said at the top, right, a lot of people think cover 3 corner, and
right.
So you won't be getting a lot of those,
Compare him to Quincy Riley, crushing it in man versus, more of a zone type corner.
Got it. All right, good stuff. Jacob, you got anything you want to add to Zy Alexander here, man?
No, I mean, I go back and forth with him, especially because, like we've talked about, if we draft him and he wears number 23, I don't got to buy new clothes, so that'd be dope. But other than that, I mean, he does seem like he goes up and down. The thing is, though, is he hasn't allowed many touchdowns in his career. He's never allowed more than 30 receptions in any given year. I mean, and that's at LSU. He's going against some of the top wide receivers. So put him maybe in a smaller pond. Maybe he shows a little bit more, but it's going to be tough definitely in the Senior Bowl when they're just kind of isolating him like Jake was talking about.
Got it. All right. Up next, pick 87 in round 3. I took tackle Charles Grant out of William and Mary.
We had him at 56, which was 8 spots higher than Zy Alexander.
Gotcha. So there you go. 56 on our board. We got him at 87. You got anything there, Jake, on Charles Grant out of William and Mary? Obviously a smaller school, right? And that's gonna get noticed. But what do you think about Charles Grant?
Yeah, from the limited stuff that I found on him, I really wanted him to participate this week. He didn't end up showing up. which was really unfortunate because you love to see those small school guys get as many reps as they possibly can. Some of his stuff is hilarious, honestly, right? Like you have these kind of smaller defensive ends he's going up against, and he's just kind of tossing them around, right? They'll like try to bull rush him, and he'll just kind of dump them on the ground, literally. So it's pretty funny to watch, honestly. Just to show you, like the PFF grades are accurate. Like he is truly dominating everybody in front of him that I've seen, and yeah, I think he's definitely built to play left tackle for sure. Again, you can always try things with guys, but I do think like he certainly has like the look and build to play left tackle.
Got it. And listen, if anybody has to hop off here at any point, you just go. You ain't got to say bye. I know we're going to go long. We typically go about an hour, 20 minutes, just so everybody knows. So, Jacob, Charles Grant out of William and Mary. Jake just mentioned kind of the PFF stuff, man. You got anything on him that you'd like to say, man?
I mean, just like Jake said, I mean, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what you could call 7 elite games this year. And I would love to just watch the highlight film. I mean, just to give you an idea, 90.7 2024, the run block grade of 89.9, pass block of 88.1, zone grade of 92.8. I mean, he's just as advertised. He's allowed 3 sacks his whole career. He's allowed 3 hits his whole career. He's allowed just over 22 hurries his whole career. That's 3 solid years where he played over almost 700 snaps each game or each year. Every single one of those snaps was at left tackle. So that's the only thing where it's like, where does he fit in on an actual Packers team? I don't know. But like Jake said, though, I would have loved to see him come out and show us like, hey, it wasn't.
And
what was
there
that?
he goes. He forgot to pay his electric bill, folks. That's what you get working at the Oval Office and not making enough daily. So, yeah, pulling up, Grant. He's consistent though, dude. 32 in PFF 22. He was 32nd, 42nd in 23, and 8th in 24. The only thing bringing him down being those board grades. Jacob, did somebody's wheelchair roll over your electric cord there? Or what happened, bro?
No.
All right, all right. So go on about Charles Grant there, sir. I apologize. Somebody obviously throttling your internet there.
I don't know where I got cut off, but I was just basically saying, I mean, he is as advertised. I wish, like Jake had mentioned, that he would have came to the bowl and just shown what he can do against a wider talent pool, because at this point he's just going to have that small school knock on him. So,
yeah, that would be my only pushback. So I was hearing them talking about Willie Lampke, Jake, and he's what, 5'10", 270. And he was handling some of those fellas.
Incredible, honestly.
And that's what I feel like. If you're Charles Grant, you want to be out there. If this dude's out there showing him that kind of stuff, man, from a small school, you got to do that. You got to put your name out there.
Yeah,
it's like your uncle throwing all the nephews around at the family reunion when he's had too many daddy sodas, right? Just tossing people around. The way that goes. This next one, I think Jake might be excited about. I don't know. He may hate him too. But round 4, pick 123, we got wide receiver Pat Bryant out of Illinois. Emilio, where do we have
114 on our board? 114.
Got it. Jake, you have the floor, sir. You don't know anything about Illinois,
right? You need a clutch game-winning touchdown. He's got you. Did that a couple times this year, that's for sure. But I think the one thing with Bryant is you're getting a detailed possession receiver, right? I think he's detailed in his approach as a route runner, and he's also really reliable in terms of adjustments, catching through contact, all of that. The one knock on him for the most part is going to be the lack of explosiveness. I don't expect him to run very fast at the combine. So that's the one thing. But again, if you want, guys who are going to give effort as a blocker, guys who are going to, 3rd and 8, can I go get you for a bucket? You absolutely can. So I do think that, it is a valuable enough add to the room.
No block, no rock.
There you go. What do you think about it, Jacob? You got anything to add to old Pat Bryant here out of Illinois?